Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be ranking every single Barca player going into the 2024-2025 season. Obviously, as you guys know, a couple days back, I ranked Barca players based on their aura, and a lot of you guys loved that video, and also a lot of you guys fucking hated that video. But in today's video, do not worry, we're not ranking them based on aura or riz or how good they would do at the TikTok wrist party. None of that corny, cringe TikTok lingo. Today, we're simply ranking these guys based on quality, how good they are with a ball at their feet, their talent. Who's the most talented player on this Barca team? Who's the least talented player on this Barca team? I'm going to try and answer that question for you guys in today's video. The reason why there's only 16 players on this tier list, some guys are missing, is because I didn't bother adding the guys like Joao Felix or Joao Cancelo, whose future at Barca is still unknown. What I did for this video is that I went on the La Liga website, I clicked on Barca, I looked at Barca's roster, and I added every single player who's currently registered with La Liga on the first team. So obviously guys like Hector Fort and Julian Araujo are not on this tier list. Again, it's only the guys who are first team players currently registered with La Liga. So if Hansi Flick had to prepare for a game tomorrow, these are the 16 guys he would have at his disposal. Also, I didn't add Iñaki Peña, the backup goalkeeper, because honestly, who the fuck wants to talk about Iñaki Peña? And he's obviously the worst player on this list. So yeah, man, this should be really funny. Pretty controversial video, one that's going to probably piss some people off, because obviously I'm giving my opinion on Barca players, and you know, a lot of these guys are very polarizing amongst the fan base. But whatever you guys agree or disagree with, please let me know in the comments section down below. And yeah, man, enough yapping. Let's start ranking these 16 Barca players from best to worst. I truly cannot wait. First up is Vitor Roque, who to me is gonna fall in the 11 through 16 range as of right now. At the end of this video, by the way, I'm gonna arrange all these guys from left to right, from like I said, from number 1 to number 16, like I said in the intro. But for right now, since Roque is the first guy on that tier, we really can't arrange anything. But like I said, at the end of the video, I'm gonna put them all in order. But yeah, speaking on Roque, if you guys watch this channel enough, you know how much I defend Roque, how much I wax poetic about Roque, and how much potential I believe this young man has. But right now, I gotta put him in 11 through 16 because he simply hasn't been given the opportunity to show his skill set at the highest levels of European football. Obviously, Roque tore that league in Brazil on fire, the Brasileirão, which is the best league in South America by far. But since he's gotten to Europe, obviously, since he got to Barca, he's played, minutes off the bench. He just hasn't been, like I said, he hasn't been given the opportunity to show how good he is. And that really pisses me off, because there's a reason why so many big clubs in Europe were after Vitor Roque. And I believe that Barca are fortunate to have him on the team. But since he got here, like I said, the coach didn't want him. Now it looks like they're going to send him on loan, and now it looks like they want to sell him to the Saudi League, and he can't play the Rondo that well, so that means he's fucking trash. Again, the way that Barca have handled the Roque situation to me has been disgusting. But this guy's a player. I believe that if he got enough playing time, he could find himself in the top 5, because I believe Roque has a skill set to be one of the best strikers in Europe. But again, he has to be given the opportunity, which he hasn't been given at Barca. So again, for me, no matter how much I love Roque, I can't put him in 1 through 5, because Barca have other players here who have shown their level, obviously at the highest levels of European football. And like I said, Roque just hasn't done that yet. But I believe that if Roque gets enough playing time, I believe if Hansi Flick really trusts him and gives him the time, puts the effort into actually developing him, I believe that, like I said, Roque can be a top 5 player in the Barca squad and one of the best players in the world, because there's a reason why this guy was battling with Endrick as best youngster in the Brazilian league. I mean, that's not something that we just made up. So again, for me, as of right now, it's got to go in through 11. He's got to go in 11 through 16. But again, it's not because he doesn't have the talent. It's because he's just been lacking the opportunity to showcase his talent. Next up, we have Andreas Christensen, who to me is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range. I was this close to putting Christensen in 1 through 5, because I believe that Christensen is one of the most underrated center backs in the world. And he's shown over the past 2 years he's one of the best center backs in the world. And if you've been watching Barca over the past year, since Christensen came to the club on a free transfer, by the way, this guy's been insane. The most consistent Barca player in that back line for the past 2 years. It hasn't been Koundé, hasn't been Araujo, hasn't been Balde, hasn't been any of those guys. Cancelo, Cubarsí, none of those. It's been Andreas Christensen. Obviously, Araujo and Koundé get talked about more than him. But Christensen, man, this guy has been so good. This guy drops a 7 out of 10 basically every single game he plays, at minimum. At the best, he can give you a 9 out of 10 or even a 10 out of 10. And he can do it at multiple positions, either at CDM or at center back. He has such a broad skill set, and he obviously shows it by the way that he plays multiple positions. He's so good on the ball, one of the best ball-playing center backs in Europe, in my opinion. His recovery speed is amazing as well. His ability to read the game, he's a super intelligent player. Again, I believe that Christensen is one of the best players on this Barca squad. Again, I was going to put him in 1 through 5, but there's other guys here who I believe are a little bit better, have more quality than Christensen. But again, this guy to me is super underrated and should be in the conversation for one of the best center backs in the world, because again, he's proved it over the past 2 years, one of the most consistent players for Barca. I mean, when we won the league, he was amazing. Last year, when that backline was crumbling, Christensen was basically the only consistent player. And Christensen is a player who's available most of the time. I mean, he does have knick-knack injuries in there where he misses like a game or 2 games, but for the most part, he's on the pitch. And for me, when this guy plays, like I said, he's just fucking amazing. At the minimum, like I said, he's going to give you a 7 out of 10. At the best, he's going to give you a 10 out of 10. So for me, Christensen, when I rearrange this list at the end, he's going to find himself closer to number 6 than to number 10 on this range. I can promise you that. Next up, we have Alejandro Valde, who to me is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range as well, right next to Christensen. He's actually going to be behind Christensen, though, because I believe Christensen is a better center back than Valde is a left back. Now, Valde, this year when he played for Barca, the 4 months that he was healthy, obviously got injured in January and was out for the rest of the year. I thought he was one of Barca's most disappointing and worst players. I mean, him going forward was just painful to watch. Like, I watched every single minute that Valde played for Barca this year because obviously I watched every Barca game. I don't think Valde ever sent in one cross that found a Barca player. Now, defensively, he was sound at times, but for the most part, he wasn't great defensively either. And for Valde, that's one of the things that he excels in my opinion. He's a very good defensive fullback, and sometimes when he needs to go forward, he's really good at that as well. And when Barca won the league, most of the time going forward, he was amazing. But like I said, last year, he just wasn't that good. But I believe Valde is going to have a bounce back year under Hansi Flick. I believe he has a skill set to be one of the best fullbacks in world football like he showed when Barca won the league. But as of right now, do I think he's a better player? Do I think he's better than like Christensen? I do not, because like I said, I think Christensen is better at his position than Valde is at his. But I do think that Valde is one of the gems on this Barca team. And I think that he's a guy who I believe is going to be a cornerstone for this team for the foreseeable future, hopefully. But again, like I said, sometimes he's a little unbalanced. You know what I mean? Like going forward, he could be great in a game, and then defensively, he's terrible. And sometimes defensively, he's great, but going forward, he's non-existent. So again, once he can find that balance and put that together and be more consistent on both ends of the pitch, I think Valde can definitely find himself in the top 5 because again, like I said, he's proved it before. There's not something that we're just pulling out of our ass. Valde has proven that before, like I said, when Barca won the league, being a very, very good fullback for us. But for me, as of right now, he's going to go in the 6 through 10 range and find himself behind Christensen, which would be at number 7 as of right now. Next up, we have Rafinha, who to me is going to go in the 6 through 10 range as well. And he's actually going to find himself ahead of Valde, but behind Christensen. I think Rafinha is a guy who football fans, like Barca fans, like sometimes love to hate on Rafinha for some reason. I don't know why. But Rafinha is an output machine. And, you know, this guy's as productive as any winger in world football over the past 2 years. And that's just a fact. I mean, the numbers are there and they back it up. Now, Rafinha can be a very frustrating player to watch. Is he Neymar? No, and really not even close. I mean, his aura, if you watch that video, you know their aura is close. But when it comes to playing football, he's obviously not as good as Neymar because very few players in the history of football are as good as Neymar was or is. And if I'm comparing every player to Neymar, most of them are going to fall short. But again, Rafinha, to me, I think he's a very good player. Now, his dribbling sometimes can be frustrating, but this guy's a workhorse, man. This guy gives it all on the pitch, and technically, he's a very good player, bro. We saw for Barca the second half of last season, he was arguably, behind Lamine Yamal, our best attacker. Not even arguably, he was our best attacker behind Lamine Yamal, and at points you could argue, he was actually better than Lamine Yamal. You know, saying someone is better than Lamine Yamal is paying them a huge compliment because Lamine Yamal is that fucking good. And obviously, we're going to talk about Lamine Yamal very shortly in this video. You guys can, I'm guessing you guys can know, like you guys already know where I'm going to put Lamine Yamal on this tier list. I just spazzed out. I don't know what I was trying to say, but you guys can already foresee where Lamine Yamal is going to fall on this tier list is what I was trying to say. But yeah, for me, Rafinha, I think he's one of the best wingers in the world. Now, is he the best winger in the world? No. Is he with the likes of Vini and Rodrigo, his Brazilian teammates? No, I think Rodrigo and Vini are better. Is he on the same tier as Saka or, you know, those guys? No, he's not. But in that next year, he's definitely there. And to me, he doesn't belong anywhere near the 11 through 16 range because I do believe he's one of Barca's 10 best players. And I think he proved it this year. Like I said, the second half of the year, he was fantastic. So for me, Rafinha is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range. One of the most disrespected players of Barca. He's going to go in the 6 through 10 range. Next up, we have Pedri, who to me is going to go in 1 through 5. Pedri, when he's healthy, has an argument to be a top 3 player in the world at his position. And I believe that if Pedri can stay healthy for a whole season, he can prove that he's the best player in the world at his position because Pedri is that good, bro. This guy has a feel for the game like very few players I've ever seen in my life. His instincts on the pitch, his ability to see that next pass, to see things that other players can't see. Again, it's something that you can't teach. You're just born with it. It's kind of like that Xavi or Iniesta quality or Messi quality, where they could just see the field in a different way than everybody else. And I know Pedri has that. And if you're a football fan, if you watch Barca enough, you know that Pedri is that good. I mean, that pass that he played to Rafinha against PSG, the moments that he had this year, again, when he was on the pitch, the only thing with Pedri is that unfortunately for us Barca fans and for really football fans, because Pedri is a joy to watch, he's always injured. But again, based on talent, how talented they are, which is what this list is based off, how good they are with a ball at their feet, very few players in world football are better with the ball at their feet than Pedri. And off the ball, he's not a bad player either. He can press pretty well as well. So for me, Pedri's going to go in 1 through 5. I believe this guy, I'm obviously not giving a hot take here. He's one of the best players in the world at his position. There's a reason why he won the Golden Boy. And there's a reason why, you know, he's a guy who most teams would want to have on their squad. Most teams would want to have Pedri in that midfield because he's that good. And us Barca fans and Barca as a club is fortunate to have him. But yeah, for me, Pedri's going to fall in 1 through 5. An extreme talent, one of the best talents that I've ever seen at Barcelona. And I'm not saying that like in passing. I really do believe that. I believe Pedri's that good. And we know how many talented players Barca have had. And I think Pedri, when his career is all said and done, hopefully if he stays healthy, again, I'm crossing my fingers that he stays healthy, he can be in that conversation with some of the greatest midfielders to ever play the game. And I really do mean that. So for that reason, Pedri's going to go in the 1 through 5 range. Next up, we have Gavi, who to me is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range. But he's going to be at the top of the 6 through 10 range because I believe Gavi's this close to being a top 5 Barca player. There's just some other guys on that list who I think are a little bit better. But Gavi's so good, bro. Now, there's that whole debate of who's better, Pedri or Gavi. Now, obviously, they have totally different skill sets. They provide totally different things on the football pitch. But I believe Pedri is a little bit better, obviously, technically. Now, Gavi is a fantastic player, one of the most tenacious, one of the most hardworking, one of the most enthusiastic players in world football. I mean, Gavi, when you watch him play, I've said this before, but he's not the tallest, obviously, in stature. He's not the oldest in age. But this guy, he makes his presence felt every time he's on the pitch. And we saw for Barca this year, we were missing intensity a lot of times. And that's because Gavi was obviously injured for most of the year. He barely played for Barca this year because he tore his ACL in that international break. But I believe Gavi, like I said with Pedri, is one of the best youngsters in the world. And I believe Gavi, in the next few years, is going to be one of the best, if not the best player in the world at his position or his role, whatever role he occupies for Barca, because again, I believe he's that good. This kid is a fucking gem. Rival fans like to call him an angry chihuahua or a passion merchant. Obviously, you don't watch Barca games enough if you believe that of Gavi, because Gavi is an amazing talent. Well, I mean, with the ball out of possession, he's amazing. He can press. He can win the ball back. He can make those passes. He can make those passes in the final third. He can recycle possession. This guy can do everything on a football pitch at an elite level or almost an elite level. And for me, like I said, I think Gavi is amazing. Some Barca fans think Gavi's better than Pedri. Some Barca fans think, like myself, that Pedri's better than Gavi. Both of these guys, we should be fortunate to be able to call them Barca players if you're a Barca fan, that these guys are the guys that you root for. But again, for me, right now, Gavi, no matter how much it pains me to say it, is going to fall right outside of the top 5 at number 6. Right next to Christensen, Rafinha, and Alejandro Valde. Next up, we have Ferran Torres. He's going to go in 11 through 16 for me, and he's going to go behind Roque. I think Ferran Torres, look, I don't want to sound like a hater here, because there was a point last year for like the first, 3 months or 4 months that he was our most productive attacker, Ferran Torres for Barca. But again, if you remember Barca from like August to December last year, we were fucking putrid. Apart from that game against Antwerp and Betis, for the most part, Barca's attack was fucking terrible. And, Ferran Torres, to me, is a very inconsistent player, a player who I don't really see why teams don't keep giving this guy opportunities. I really don't see it with Ferran Torres. I mean, obviously at Man City didn't work out, then he comes to Barca, has had a few good moments at Barca, but when I see Ferran Torres, I don't see a guy who has another gear to get to. I see a guy who's basically found his form. He's a squad player at best. Again, I'm not trying to pick on the guy or bully him because he is a Barca player, but for me, Ferran Torres is not a guy who can look at and say, this guy's a guy who's gonna take us to new heights. And again, for me, I think Roque, again, he hasn't shown it. He hasn't been able to showcase it. And this might be controversial, but I think Roque is a better player than Ferran Torres. I think he's a better football player. Whatever definition you want to give that, I think he's better with a ball at his feet. I trust him more with a ball at his feet than I trust Ferran Torres, who's one of the most inconsistent and frustrating players that I've ever watched in my life of watching Barcelona. I believe that. So for me, again, Ferran, not trying to pick on him, even though I probably just did, but he to me is going to go in 11 through 16. He's going to go behind Roque because, again, just not consistent enough. And when he does play, when he plays, we know what we're getting with him, and it's really nothing special, nothing great. So for me, Ferran is going to go in the 11 through 16 range, like I've said already, like 10 times in this one clip. Next up is Ronald Araujo, who to me is going to fall in the 1 through 5 range, right next to Pedri. He, to me, is one of the best center backs in the world. And I think the most frustrating part for us Barca fans is that these two guys right here are so fucking good, but they're both always injured. If these guys could stay healthy for a full season, man, that'd be amazing. But yeah, Araujo, to me, again, he had a poor season for Barca last year. His decision-making at times can be really silly. I mean, his fouls he commits sometimes are just stupid fouls. But then again, Sergio Ramos had that as well. Sergio Ramos is one of the best center backs that I've ever seen. And sometimes he committed stupid fouls and got sent off. So again, it happens from time to time. No player is perfect, and obviously Araujo is not the perfect player. But then again, who the fuck is the perfect player? Araujo has one of the best skill sets in world football at his position. The physical attributes that this guy possesses, I mean, very few players have. He has everything you want in a center back. He's strong off the ball. He's strong on the ball. He can win his duels. He's great in the air. He has recovery speed. He's a leader on the pitch. I mean, this guy's fantastic. Again, sometimes his decision-making when it comes to fouling or committing silly fouls is not great. But like I said, no player is perfect. But Ronald Araujo, man, he's one of the best center backs in the world. When he's healthy, he's in the conversation for best center back in the world. Now, is he better than Militao? Is he better than Saliba? Is he better than, I don't know, Antonio Rudiger? Is he better than those guys? Is he better than Ruben Diaz? Is he better than Virgil van Dijk? I don't know, but what I do know is that he's definitely in that conversation. That's what I know for a fact, and no one can convince me otherwise. No one can tell me that Araujo's not in that conversation when he's on the pitch. And again, he had a down year. A lot of players have had down years. Van Dijk had a down year a couple years back. You know, like Araujo's still a young guy who still hasn't even reached the ceiling, in my opinion. I mean, there's still another gear this I can get to, and like we know, like and we see it. He's already one of the best in the world, like I said. And that stretch that Barca were dominating, not dominating, but when they were playing really, really well, and around February all the way up until that PSG collapse, where it was mostly caused by Araujo. I get that, but in that stretch, our backline was amazing, and part of that was because of Ronald Araujo and the contributions that he made to that team. And I think, again, like I said, he's a fantastic player. But for me, again, these two guys, Pedri and Araujo, when they're healthy, they're in the conversation for best player in the world in their position. So obviously, when you're in that conversation, you're obviously in the conversation to be one of the top 5 best players on the Barcelona squad. So for me, Araujo is 100% going to go into the top 5. No question about it. Next up, we have Frankie de Jong. This one is going to be controversial. I can already see the people in the comment section. What the fuck are you talking about? You're such a Frankie de Jong glazer. Frankie de Jong is going to go in the top 5. You can argue with your mom if you want. And he's actually, I'm going to keep him at number 3 as of right now. But he might get moved up when I finish arranging this list at the end of the video. Because Frankie de Jong, again, Barca fans, some of them hate him because he doesn't show up in the big moments and because his wages are too high. Like, separate yourself from that. Again, I understand that you don't like that Frankie de Jong makes all this money. Again, take that away. Okay, put that to the side for 1 second. And look at him as a football player. Put your hatred aside for 1 second. Frankie de Jong as a football player is in the conversation, like I said, for best player in the world at his position when he's healthy. And again, is he better than Fede Valverde? I don't know. Is he better than Kevin De Bruyne? I don't fucking know. But he's definitely in that conversation. And we know that for a fact. And Frankie de Jong, Barca fans like to pretend like Frankie de Jong wasn't fucking amazing for us this year before he got hurt. There was like a 4-month stretch where he was our best player. Our best player. And sorry, I had to burp. And it wasn't even fucking close. Frankie de Jong is one of the best midfielders in the world. Every single club would drool over this guy. If he was put on the market today by Barca, he would go for over 100 million. Mediocre players, for the most part, don't go for over 100 million. But teams want Frankie de Jong. Like, I promise you they do. And he's a fantastic player. And like I said, when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the world at his position. And I believe that he can be one of the best players in the world when he's healthy. Fuck his position in the world. Because again, Frankie de Jong has such an elite skill set. He's so good at so many different things. He can carry the ball forward. He's one of the best ball carriers in Europe. He can recycle possession. He's good off the ball. He can play multiple positions. Now, does he play him perfectly? No, he's not great as a center back, and he's not really great as a pivot. But again, a lot of that has to do with the system that he's like what he's tasked to do on the pitch is what I'm trying to say. So again, Frankie de Jong for me, like I said, I know Barca fans hate him and they're like, oh, this guy's not worth, like the juice is not worth the squeeze. It 100% is. It 100% is. Frankie de Jong is one of the best players in the world at his position. And for me, for that reason, he's definitely going to fall in the top 5. And again, these 3 guys for Barca, I mean, our best, most talented players are the ones that are injured the most. How fucking frustrating is that? Next up, we have Robert Lewandowski, who currently, present-day Robert Lewandowski, is going to go in the 11 through 16 range behind Roque and behind Ferran Torres. No one can convince me Robert Lewandowski is a better player currently than Vitor Roque or Ferran Torres. No one can convince me of that. Nobody in the world. He's been mediocre since the World Cup in 2022. That's a fact. That's a pretty big sample size. And that you can go look at the numbers. And again, people are going to say he almost won the Pichichi last year. If you watch Barca play, Robert Lewandowski was one of our worst players. One of the reasons why Barca were so mediocre for most of the year was because our striker was like a fucking porta potty, just sitting in the middle of the pitch trying to drop deep like Harry Kane at the Euros and doing nothing. I'm sorry, bro. Current day Lewandowski is just not good enough. If this was like if I was making this video back in like 2017, or even maybe in 2022 or 2021, early 2022 or early 2021, he would be number 1 on this list because prime Robert Lewandowski is one of the best strikers that I've ever seen. But let's just be honest here, guys. The current day Robert Lewandowski is a mediocre at best striker, a guy who really doesn't do many things on the pitch. And the things that he does really doesn't do them well. His finishing is declined. His passing is not great. His playmaking is subpar. His relationship with his teammates seems to be deteriorating every single game because he's always yelling at somebody, at some teenager on the Barca squad, because he's not getting the ball at the perfect place, like perfectly at his feet. I mean, it's just frustrating to watch. And again, for me, Robert Lewandowski, present-day Lewandowski, is not one of the 10 best players on the squad. He's not even one of the best 13 players on the squad. And that's just a fact of the matter. And I think the quicker that Barca realize that this guy is past it, and the quicker they get rid of him, the quicker this club can actually move forward. because this guy has done nothing for us to just treat him like a club legend and never want to actually we don't want to embarrass him, not even embarrass, but we don't want to get rid of Lewandowski because he still has something left in the tank. He simply doesn't. And I hope that Hansi Flick can see that sooner or later and we can give some playing time to some of the other guys on this team that actually deserve it, because Lewandowski for me has done nothing to earn this superstar status in current day football. He's just not one of those guys anymore. And again, for me, he's going to fall in the 11 through 16 range. Just a guy who I don't want to see wearing a Barca shirt for that much longer, honestly. Next up, we have Lamine Yamal, the 17-year-old. And he, to me, as you guys know, is going to go at number 1. The most talented player on this Barca squad right now. One of the best players in the world already at 17 years old. What he did at the Euros was amazing. What he did for Barca, the whole season was honestly amazing. But that second half of the year, he came alive and he really started to, to find his groove and just show that this guy's a talent like most of us have never seen before. At this age, I've never seen a player as talented as Lamine Yamal. And that includes Ansu Fati, that includes Kylian Mbappe. What this guy's been able to do is just insane, bro. It's insane. And yeah, for me, there's really not much I can say about Lamine Yamal. I've waxed poetic about him. I waxed poetic about him throughout the whole Euro campaign. He's just such a good player, bro. He's just such a good player. It's crazy how good Lamine Yamal is. It truly baffles me how amazing this guy is and how mature he is for his age on the pitch. Again, I don't know about off the pitch, but on the pitch, he's just so wise beyond his years. His decision-making at times can be a little bit questionable. For the most part, he's amazing. Out on that wing, if you give him anybody one-on-one, it's a mismatch. It doesn't matter who it is. He's so good at dribbling in tight spaces. His shot, oh my God, bro, that goal that he scored against France, that curler, his passing, his vision. I mean, everything about this kid is just so elite, man. It's crazy how good Lamine Yamal is. And for me, like I said, he's going to go in 1 through 5, and he's going to be number 1. Spoiler alert, this guy's not moving from number 1. At the end of this video, you're going to see Lamine Yamal at number 1. He's not moving anywhere. Because, like I said, he's the most talented Barca player right now, and that's crazy for a 17-year-old. I don't know if that's a compliment to Barca or a detriment to Barca that our best and most talented player is 17 years old and actually just turned 17, about a week back. But again, for me, Lamine Yamal, in terms of talent and how good they are with a ball at their feet, no one in the Barca squad is better than the 17-year-old, in my humble opinion, at least. Next up, we have Pau Cubarsí, who to me is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range. And I know this is crazy, bro. I know this is crazy because Pau Cubarsí, I already believe he's the best young center back in the world. I think he's better than Lenny Yoro. Again, that might be controversial, but I do believe that. I love Pau Cubarsí. But there's one guy on this list that I just have to give him the respect and put him on the 1 through 5 right now. But Pau Cubarsí, by the end of next year, is going to be one of the best players on the Barca squad, if he's not already, bro. Pau Cubarsí completely changed the Barca backline when he came in. And he, like Lamine Yamal, for a 17-year-old, bro, I don't know what the fuck they're feeding these kids over there in Catalonia, but it's insane. La Masia is insane, the talent they produce. And the fact that these two kids can step into a Barca team at such a young age and make such an impact is honestly a testament, like I said, to La Masia and the development over there, because it's the best academy in the world, bar none, and they show it every single time a youngster makes their debut on the Barca first team. And to me, Pau Cubarsí, again, like I said, when he came into that Barca team, he completely transformed that back line. His ability to make last-ditch tackles is elite. His long passing is fucking crazy, bro. It's insane how good Pau Cubarsí is at making those long passes. It's insane how good he is at making those line-breaking passes. It's insane how poised he is with the ball at his feet. He's never rattled with the ball at his feet, despite being so young. I mean, you saw this guy against Napoli in the UCL be the best player on the pitch, drop a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 performance against guys like Victor Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, who are elite players in Europe. I mean, how many guys can say that at that age? Lenny Yoro can't say that. I promise you that. He cannot. And I'm not trying to shit on Lenny Yoro because obviously he's a really, really good player. And I think he's going to do great at United. I'm so happy he's going to United over Real Madrid. I'm going to be 100% honest here. I was actually scared that he was going to end up at Madrid. But to me, Pau Cubarsí, again, do I think can I put him in the 1 through 5? Yes. But again, there's one guy on this list who I just have to give that respect to. But as of right now, oh my God, bro, he's one of the best players on this Barca team, and it's not even fucking close. Next up, we have İlkay Gundogan, and I have to make a change already, guys. We're going to have to move Balde down to 11 through 16, and we're going to have to move Gundogan up to the 6 through 10 range, because there's no fucking way I'm putting Gundogan at 11 through 16. No chance. This guy's still one of the best midfielders in the world. And he proved it this year. And he proved it for City while he was still there. And obviously, there's reports that he might leave Barca this summer. I don't know about any of that. But on the pitch, bro, İlkay Gundogan is still, like I said, one of the best in the world at his position. You could argue last year he was the best in the world at his position. Now, again, you could say Toni Kroos, and I would give you that. But he was in that conversation for sure. I mean, this guy was arguably, or not even arguably, he was our best player throughout the whole year, in my opinion. He was our most consistent player for sure. Now, were his highs as high as some of the other guys here? No, but this guy was a steady presence, kind of like Christensen and that Barca team that whole year. And for me, again, like I said, İlkay Gundogan is a fantastic player, a great player, and a guy who I believe provides some veteran leadership and some veteran, he provides a veteran presence on this team that is much needed. And again, I don't want to see him go anywhere, but for me right now, he's definitely going to go in the 6 through 10 range. I'm sorry to Valde because I do believe he's a really, really good player, but he's the only guy that I can think about moving down. He's the only guy that I can think about moving down because none of the other guys there, all the other guys there I think are better than Balde. Again, this is going to be controversial. People are going to disagree. That's fine. Let me know in the comment section down below. But for me, Gundogan is going to fall in the 6 through 10 range because this guy's still, like I said, one of the best in the world. I mean, this guy's final third vision is amazing. Just everything about him, bro. Everything about Okay Gundogan, his decision making, everything about him is just world class. Still, like a fine wine, like they say with Luka Modric. The same thing you could say about Okay Gundogan, like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better with age. And for me, after what I saw from him this season, there's no way I could say he's not one of the 10 best players on this current Barca squad. No debate about it. Next up, we have Marc-Andre ter Stegen. I'm sorry, Mats, bro. You're gonna have to go in 11 through 16. Mats, bro. Here's the thing. Mats, do I think he's still one of the best keepers in the world? On his day, yes, but he's not the Marc-Andre ter Stegen that we all remember from like years back. And Mats' tenure at Barca has been very up and down. He's had some good seasons. He's had some questionable seasons. Last year, he had some good moments, saved Barca a lot. People forget the year we won the league. He was our best player probably. I mean, this guy saved us so many times. Everybody likes to talk about Barca's defensive record. If you watch Barca the year we won the league, there's a lot of times where Barca had a one-on-one with the keeper, where an opposing team had a one-on-one with the Barca keeper, ter Stegen, and ter Stegen would just bail us out every time. So again, do I think ter Stegen is still the creme de la creme when it comes to goalkeepers in Europe? No, there's a lot of guys who are better than him. But I do think that, you know, he needs his respect, but I don't believe that he's one of the 10 best players on this Barca team. Not even I could say that. And I'm a pretty big Mats fan. I think I'm one of the few people that defends him. Most Barca fans just like to call him Ter Saddam and want to get him out of the club. They want to ship him to Iraq to fucking play in that league. But to me, again, ter Stegen, he's going to go in 11 through 16 because he's obviously not the player that he used to be. And he's not really battling for best in the world at his position when he's on the pitch, obviously. Next up, we have Oriol Romeu, who's obviously going to go in the 11 through 16 range. He's going to be dead last in that range. Romeu is the worst player on this Barca squad right now, and it's really not even fucking close. If I can make another tier just called Romeu, I would, but that'd be just utterly disrespectful, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, Romeu is garbage, bro. Honestly, I've already talked enough shit about Romeu in a lot of videos. The Aura video, I flamed this guy. I said he had worse aura than Jonah Hill, and that's a pretty big insult if you ask me. But again, Romeu, what does he really do well, man? What is Romeu? When Romeu comes onto the pitch, what are you looking forward to seeing? What? His passing, it's subpar. His play with his back to goal, it's terrible. His decision making, it's awful. Like, no, his shot, what the fuck? What is that? Like, it's like a piss missile. There's nothing with Romeu that can leave you confidence he's gonna do the right thing on the pitch. And for me, for that reason, he's just gonna go in 11 through 16. Again, I don't want to make this clip too long because I don't want to pile on Romeu too much. But he's just not a good player, guys. Let's be honest here. And lastly, we have Jules Koundé, who to me is obviously going to fall in the 1 through 5 range. This guy had to be in the 1 through 5. There's no way I could keep Koundé out of one of the top 5, like out of putting him in one of the best 5 Barca players currently on the squad, because this guy's fucking amazing, bro. He's amazing. I mean, like, he's been so good the past year and a half. Again, he had his down period when he came back from injury this year. But for like 95% of the season, Koundé was our best defender. That's just the fact of the matter. And at the Euros for France, playing as a right back, I mean, this guy basically shut down. I saw him, I watched him neutralize Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. You could argue those are the 2 best players in the world. And again, the Koundé pocket them. Mbappe, yes. You could argue, no, you can even argue. He pocketed Mbappe in that first and second leg because Mbappe did fuck all. Vini, not so much, but again, he held his own against Vini, which is very hard to do. Very few players, if any, can defend Vini one-on-one. And again, Koundé, for me, he held his own against Nico Williams against Spain. Like, he did do that. So, again, he's one of the most talented and best center backs in the world. Defensively, there's very few fullbacks better than him, if any, in my opinion. And his ability to play from the back and his connection with Lamine Yamal down that right-hand side, we saw it last year come to fruition, and I cannot wait to see it this year. But again, Koundé, for me, is an amazing player. Such a gem of a player, and I'm so glad Barca have this guy because I believe he's one of the best defenders in the world. Whether you want to play him as a center back or as a right back, I believe he's better as a right back. I know Koundé likes playing center back, but I believe he's better as a right back. So, for me, Koundé is 100% going to go in the top 5. Now, let's arrange this list how I want it to. Okay, so we have Lamine Yamal, I believe, is the most talented Barca player. I think Pedri is going to go at number 2. I'm going to put Frankie de Jong. I'm going to keep the top 5 this way. I think this is a decent way to have the top 5. We have Lamine Yamal at 1, Pedri at 2, Araujo at 3, Frankie de Jong at 4, and Koundé at 5. 6 through 10. Again, not many things. Actually, no. We're going to change this. We're going to put Gundogan ahead of. Actually, we're going to put Gundogan ahead of Christensen. You know what? No. We're going to put Gundogan right there. We're going to have Christensen there. We're going to have Gavi. We're going to have Cubarsí at 6, Gavi at 7, Christensen at 8. We're going to have Gundogan at 9, and we're going to have Rafinha at 10. That to me is pretty good. And then we have Balde at 11. We have Vitor Roque at 12. We have Ferran Torres at 13. We have Lewandowski at 14. We have Ter Stegen. Actually, no, we're going to switch this. We're going to have Ter Stegen at 14. We're going to have Lewandowski at 15. And then we're going to have the GOAT, Oriol Romeu, at 16. Those are, to me, are the current, like those are the 15 best Barca players from best to worst. The best player on the squad is Lamine Yamal. The worst player on the squad is Oriol Romeo. Again, I understand this video is going to be controversial, but I wanted to make it this way so you guys can get your thoughts in the comment section down below and we can kind of interact down there. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Please let me know. And yeah, man, if you guys enjoyed the video, then I really appreciate that. I love every single one of you, and I'll catch you guys, what the fuck was that? I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.